Hi, we're glad that you have joined us. We believe that every employee can contribute in a positive way, and we hope you take pride in being a member of our team. There is a lot to learn in your new job, and this is orientation video will provide an overview of the company policies, codes of conduct, and employee relation topics such as how to request time off. Welcome to the Daily Harvest Cafe and Juicery. Bienvenidos. At the Daily Harvest, we seek to work as a team and environment in which trust, fairness, and equal opportunities are valued. We expect employees to do their best in fulfilling their job roles. Please take the time to get familiar with the contents of this orientation and the Employee Handbook. Employees are expected to know and follow the guidelines and policies. Welcome to the Daily Harvest Cafe and Juicery Continued. Our story. The cafe has been family owned and operated since the beginning, and our mission is to share wholesome, fresh, and simple food with our community. We specialize in breakfast and lunch, cold pressed juices, and espresso. Please get familiar with our menu and cold pressed juices. Communication. It is important that the lines of communication remain open at all times. Management will hold staff meetings periodically to discuss operations and food safety, handling procedures, and items affecting the workplace. If you experience a problem or do not understand something, discuss it with management. It is equally important that you share any suggestions and ideas you may have. Company policies. Orientation period policy. First 90 days of employment are considered an employee's introductory and orientation period. We may extend the introductory period if management determines that such an extension is needed. This period allows for training, orientation, and adjustment to the job and an opportunity to determine whether it will be in the best interest of the employee and employer for the employment relationship to continue. The satisfactory completion of an introductory period does not constitute an agreement of continuing employment for an unlimited amount of time. Your employment as at will. Employment as at will at the Daily Harvest Cafe. Employment at the Daily Harvest Cafe is at will, meaning that there is no agreed upon term or duration of employment, and it is at the mutual consent of the employee and the cafe. The employee or the cafe can terminate the employment relationship at any time with or without cause or advance notice. No one at the cafe is guaranteed that his or her job will not change. Confidentially. Confidential information includes recipes, business operations, personal and customer information, and financial information relating to the daily harvest. Employees must keep confidence and such confidential information and may not use or disclose any confidential information relating to the cafe without the written consent of the daily harvest. Equal employment opportunity. In all decisions at the cafe to hire or promote, there shall be no discrimination on the basis of any personal traits or factors, and any other terms and conditions of employment shall be made without regard to any personal traits or factors. Reasonable accommodation. The cafe abides the requirements of the Americans with disabilities. Any applicant or employee who requires an accommodation in order to perform the essential functions of her or his job should notify management to request such an accommodation. The individual with the disability should specify what accommodation he or she needs to perform the job. The cafe will identify reasonable accommodations, if any, that will help the employee perform his or her job. We hope that every employee will recognize and value differences among co-workers and our customers. The Daily Harvest Cafe does not tolerate discrimination or harassment of any kind and is also committed to investigating all claims of discrimination against any differences, sensitively addressing perceptions of discrimination as well as combating real instances, wherever and whomever they occur. Sexual harassment prevention. The Daily Harvest is committed to providing employees with a safe work environment free from harassment of any kind, including sexual harassment. Harassment will not be tolerated, and violation of this policy will result in an immediate investigation and discipline up to and including termination for gross misconduct. Sexual harassment consists of unwelcome sexual advances of any kind, including via electronic communication or verbal and physical contact from supervisors, managers, other staff, customers, or vendors. Such conduct has the purpose of unreasonably interfering with an individual's job performance or of creating an intimidating, hostile, or offensive working environment.
Hi everyone, I'm just editing this video and I hear that I'm so tired while voicing this presentation. It was not supposed to be that boring. I'm so sorry.
Sexual harassment prevention continued. Examples of sexual harassment: sexual advances or propositions, pre repeated requests for a date, posting, sending, forwarding, or displaying in the workplace any materials or images that are sexually suggestive or offensive. Verbal conduct such as whistling, making lewd jokes, or graphic comments about another's body or appearance, or discussing one's intimate experiences. Physical contact such as inappropriate touching, massaging, hugging, kissing, rubbing the body. Visual conduct such as staring or leering or looking at someone up and down. Drug free workplace policy. Abuse of drugs, including alcohol, by employees is unacceptable because it adversely affects health, safety, security, and productivity, as well as public confidence and trust. Using, processing, selling, or being under the influence of illegal drugs is unlawful, dangerous, and is absolutely prohibited at the workplace. The use of prescribed drugs to any extent that impairs safe and effective job performance is also prohibited at work. Violation of the drug-free workplace policy shall result in disciplinary action up to termination.
Alcohol and drug use has a wide impact. For the person using drugs or alcohol, it can result in physical or mental harm. For the people around them, it can mean anxiety and stress, or the need to distance or protect themselves. At work, it can mean dangers to health, safety, and welfare, or damage to relationships and work quality. This all contributes to the cost of managing alcohol and drug use. Globally, alcohol and drug use is an enormous contributor to injury, disease, and premature death. Alcohol is identified as a causal factor in more than 200 diseases and results in nearly 6% of all deaths every year. That's 3.3 million people. 5.1% of the global burden of disease and injury is attributed to alcohol. So, next time you have a drink, remember, everybody at work has a responsibility to keep themselves and the people around them safe.
No smoking policy. Smoking is prohibited in the daily harvest facility areas. Employees may smoke during their breaks and lunchtime. Outdoor smoking is permitted away from the entrance, patio, and back door. Hand washing is required by all employees immediately after returning from a smoke break. Safety policy. It is important that all employees conduct business with safety in mind, both for their own and their co-workers' well-being. It is each employee's responsibility to adhere to the following safety rules and adopt a safety conscious attitude, which includes but it's not limited to. Safety policy continues. Hand washing is mandatory prior to starting shift, after taking a break, and after leaving the bathroom. Hand washing must be done at the kitchen sink. Comply with food safety handling requirements. Be cautious when working around hot surfaces such as the stoves and ovens. Ask for assistance when lifting boxes filled with fruits and vegetables, large boxes filled with supplies, and outside furniture or umbrellas. Follow all safety precautions when operating machinery or equipment. Do not use machinery and equipment unless trained. Be cautious with equipment that has sharp edges, such as the knives, slicer machine, and blenders. Never put hands into the blender, robot cup, shredder, and the food processor. Instead, use the extension tools to push down or unplug equipment.
There are few industries where hand safety and hygiene are as important as it is within the food industry. Regardless of where you are in the value chain, there is a responsibility on you to maintain the highest standards of safety possible, both for your customers and for your employees. In this video, we're going to run through some reasons why hand safety is so important and what you can do to maintain a very high standard of hand safety. First, to prevent food contamination. The most obvious example is that your workers can contaminate the food you're preparing if you're not upholding certain standards. We've seen so many examples of foodborne illness outbreaks in recent years, and you don't want to be one of those cases because it can destroy your reputation. Ensuring that your workers are wearing the right gloves and are washing their hands regularly is a prerequisite for this work. In most countries, there will even be regulations that aim to enforce this hand hygiene, so you need to make sure that you're doing what needs to be done here. Second, to avoid accidents and injuries. For many food production pipelines, workers will be working with highly specialized and powerful machinery. These machines can be dangerous if not used correctly, and you want to protect your staff members wherever possible to avoid potential hand injuries. Some things you can do here are to ensure proper training and education, provide safety gloves where necessary, encourage focus and concentration when using the machine, and invest in machines that have strong safety mechanisms. Third, to reduce costs. This might sound counterintuitive to some, but when you're taking hand safety seriously, you'll find that you can make your processes more efficient, and you'll be dealing with a lot less waste as you move through the value chain. This reduces costs and can improve your company's bottom line as a result. Safety is one of those underlying pillars that have positive knock-on effects for everything it touches, so don't underestimate how impactful it can be. Fourth, to uphold a good business reputation. There is also a social expectation on the part of your customers that you are doing everything within your power to improve hand safety within your food processing. Customers want to know that you are prioritizing this and can often make purchasing decisions based on your reputation within the marketplace. It's not just the right thing to do, but it is also something that can give you a competitive edge in the market if you become known as the company that puts safety and hygiene first. Hand safety and hygiene in the food industry is something that you cannot afford to ignore because it affects all your stakeholders, including your employees and your customers. Here at NASTA, we produce a wide range of safety gloves.
Inspect your workplace for potential and existing problems and unsafe conditions. Keep work areas and the entrance clean and free from tripping hazards, such as maintaining a clear walkway. Immediately report all safety concerns, hazards, or unsafe conditions to management. Immediately clean up liquids or food spills on the floor and place wet floor sign over area. If you cannot immediately clean up the spill, ask another employee for assistance to prevent a slip and fall. When draining the mop bucket, use the floor drain only. Use gloves when using bleach, sanitizer, and other cleaning supplies. No horse playing is permitted. Work-related injuries and accidents must be reported immediately to management and complete the accident injury reporting form. If medical treatment is needed, complete the appropriate workers' compensation forms, which are in the binder underneath the front counter. Attendance and punctuality. All employees are required to be reliable at work on a punctual basis and be ready to begin working at the beginning of their specified work time. Employees also must be ready to resume work on time after authorized break and meal periods. If an employee expects to be tardy on a workday, they must notify management as soon as possible. For absence that can be predicted, you should schedule your absence 30 calendar days in advance with management. Excessive absence and failures to report absence on a timely basis may result in a discipline up to and including possible termination. Employees experiencing fever, rashes, vomiting, and or diarrhea or symptoms associated with any illness are not allowed to work, and if absent is due to illness for 2 or more consecutive days, they are required to get a medical clearance such as a negative COVID-19 test result before returning to work. Employees with persistent sneezing, coughing, or runny nose not controlled by medication are also not allowed to work. For absences due to illness, you are required to report to management at least 4 hours prior to your scheduled start time. Refer to the Injury and Illness Prevention Program of the Daily Harvest for COVID-19 prevention protocol in place. Policy of requesting time off for all employees. Employees must submit in advance an electronic time of request form within home-based app in order to request vacation and time off from work. Also send a photo of the request form to supervisor as soon as possible. If requesting more than 3 days of time off, employee must submit an electronic time of request form at least 30 calendar days in advance. If requesting 3 days or less of time off, employee must submit an electronic time of request form at least 10 calendar days in advance. The following is the limit of days per calendar year that front staff may request for vacation and time off as long as there is enough staff capacity to cover work shift. 14 days for the first year of employment, up to 21 days after the first year of employment. Multiple workday vacations cannot exceed 10 consecutive workdays. 2 employees cannot take time off on the same dates. The following is the limit of days per calendar year that kitchen staff may request for vacation and time off as long as there is enough staff capacity to cover work shifts. Up to 7 days for the first year of employment, up to 14 days after the first year of employment. Multiple workday vacations cannot exceed 10 consecutive workdays. We cannot grant 2 employees time off requests for the same days. Holiday and vacation pay. The CAFE does not provide holiday or vacation pay benefits currently. However, employees must submit an electronic time off request form within the home-based app in advance for vacation and time off needed. Company policies regarding accurate timekeeping. Employees are compensated accurately and in compliance with the Fair Labor Standards Act (FLSA). The CAFE requires all hourly employees keep accurate account of their time worked, clock in and out to the beginning and the end of the shift, including for unpaid meal breaks. Accurate timekeeping continued after a false altering, falsifying, tampering with time records, or recording time on your own or another team member's time record will result in disciplinary action, including termination of employment. Any changes to an employee's timekeeping record must be approved by the Daily Harvest management team. Questions regarding the timekeeping system should be directed to the Daily Harvest management team.
We all know the importance of providing meal and rest breaks to non-exempt employees under California law. But some dealers overlook the timing requirements of these breaks.
That's right, Chris. Generally, dealers are aware that they must provide an off-duty meal break of no less than 30 minutes, but what they often don't realize is that the meal break must be provided by the end of the 5th hour of work. In addition, the second meal break must be provided no later than the end of the 10th hour of work.
That's good to know. What about rest breaks?
Rest breaks should, insofar as practicable, be in the middle of each 4-hour work period, and they should be separate from the meal period. So in a standard 8-hour workday, there should be one rest period that falls in the middle of each period on either side of the meal break.
Do dealers have any relief regarding the timing rules?
Well, some employees can waive the meal break if they work no more than 6 hours in the day, and they can waive the second meal break if they work no more than 12 hours and didn't waive the first meal break. We highly recommend that such a waiver be in writing and signed by the employee, and that the waiver be revocable.
And thanks for joining us for today's coffee break.
Rest breaks. Employees are entitled to a 10-minute break for each hour consecutive work period worked and should be taken as close as possible to the middle of the work period. The daily harvest does not pay for extended breaks and or meal period. Employees are entitled to an uninterrupted duty-free and paid 30-minute meal period if 5 or more hours in a day are worked. Employees can agree to voluntarily waive their 30 minutes meal periods under these specified conditions. If 6 hours or less are worked in a shift, the employee may waive their 30-minute meal period only when the employee is unable to take a meal period because of workload. When this occurs, the employee must immediately inform the supervisor so that appropriate arrangements can be made. Personal telephone calls. Employees may not accept calls or text while working unless it is an emergency. Failure or adhere to the personal telephone call policy may result in discipline. Employees may receive emergency calls on their telephone of the daily harvest. Employees are only allowed to use personal cellular telephones only during their breaks unless it's an emergency. Dress code. General dress standard at the Daily Harvest Cafe is casual, respectable, clean, and dark-colored pants or denim jeans and t-shirts without logos or not bright-colored are acceptable if present in a clean and conservative appearance. All employees must tie hair back prior to starting their shift. Kitchen staff must wear a baseball cap or hair net at all times. All employees should wear slip-resistant shoes at all times. No oversized shirts with sleeves hanging low or long are allowed. Dress code continued. Only staff working at the front cash register is allowed to wear shorts that are below the mid-length of the thigh. Kitchen staff are not allowed to wear shorts because of spills and the risk of burning. The following are examples of an appropriate attire at any time: tube tops, mini shorts, flip-flops, sweatsuits, beach wear, midriff tops, high heel shoes, micro or mini skirts. Cash handling policy and procedures. The following cash handling policy must be followed by all employees. Each employee will be provided an individual passcode to access the cash register while on shift. Under no circumstances are employees allowed to use someone's passcode. Each employee handling a cash register is responsible for the guarding and accuracy of all monies received. The employee must secure in the cash register any cash not immediately dispersed for any reason. Leaving cash funds in unsecured or unattended will result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Authorized persons are strictly prohibited in areas where cash is handled. It's the employee's responsibility to report immediately any discrepancy to management. Staff must notify management by text on the same day if short or over $10 cash when closing. Discrepancies are not acceptable and may result in disciplinary action up to and including termination. Under no circumstances should an employee keep cafe funds with their own personal funds, deposit cafe funds in a personal bank account, or take cafe funds to one's home. Any voided invoices must be printed and signed by management, and the employee must write on it the reason for the void and add a comment with the reason for the void in the POS system. Cash handling policies and procedures. Front staff must verify the uh, authenticity of $100 bills before entering the paid amount or ending the transaction. The video below has more useful tips.
To determine if a $100 bill is real, rub it between your fingers to see if you can feel any raised ink. If you can't, the bill is probably fake. Make sure the portrait of Ben Franklin looks realistic, sharp, and highly detailed. You can also hold the bill up to a light to see if it's real. With the portrait of Franklin facing you, look for a watermark that says 100 USA to the left of the portrait and a ghost copy of the portrait on the right side of the bill. If they're not there, the bill likely isn't real. If you have a newer $100 bill with a blue ribbon on it, move the paper back and forth at an angle. You should see small blue 100s reflected inside of the blue strip. There should also be an orange ink container for a quill pen next to the blue strip, with a Liberty Bell inside that shines when you move the bill.
Immediately inform management when there is an issue with processing debit cards and credit cards. The employee must obtain the customer's contact information, including first and last name, telephone number, and email address in case the charge doesn't go through successfully. Front staff must verify the authenticity of $100 bills before entering the paid amount or ending the transaction. Use the instructions in the white binder found at the front counter. If the customer is paying with $100 bill of an item of $5 or less, ask the customer to pay with a smaller bill or to use a credit debit card because we can't break the 100 bill at the moment. When the closing out balance is over or short at the end of the day, employee must immediately notify management. All employees must possess and provide to management a copy of a valid California food handler card within 30 days after the date of hire. To earn a California food handler card, you must receive training, which can be completed online and pass the food handler test. Employees are required to use National Restaurant Association's Serve Safe. Employees are responsible for paying the fee for the training and getting the card. The cards are valid for 3 years. Failure to follow this requirement will result in immediate termination of employment. RBS certification, Responsible Beverage Service Training and Certification. RBS certification and passing of the exam is required by California Department of Alcohol Beverage Control (ABC) to ensure servers and their management are educated on standards established by the ABC, including the dangers of serving alcohol to minors and over-serving alcohol to customers. The training is mandatory starting 31st of August 22nd year, along with passing the ABC Administrator RBS exam within 60 calendar days from the first day of employment. Please ask us about the RBS training and certification registration instruction sheet, the ABC website. Reviews are used as a tool used by management for providing employees with feedback, recognition of their efforts, and to get employees involved to their own development. It also establishes clearly defined job responsibilities and annual performance objectives. Performance reviews are usually conducted after the 90-day probation period and annually thereafter. Employees can give feedback on the evaluation. As an employee, you're evaluated on the basis of the following: what you do, the degree to which you fulfill your job responsibilities and accomplish your objectives, how you do it, your exercise of skills, organizational communication, problem solving, and so on, required to accomplish your objectives and responsibilities. This includes your attitude as perceived by management, a significant consideration in the overall evaluation. Please for use of name, photographs, image, and likeness. The cafe has active social media accounts such as Instagram. We're asking consent from employees before using their name, photograph, likeness, image, or film, videotape, digital image, and or sound recording to promote or publicize the cafe in any form of media communication. By agreeing to this consent, employees are releasing cafe from any and all liability, and also it is understood that they have no right of approval, review, or inspection in connection with any use, publication, distribution, or dissemination of the information. Series of progressive disciplinary steps. The following warning and progressive disciplinary procedures does not alter AT will employment. In dealing with an employee's unsatisfactory performance, there is a series of steps that can be taken available in its sole discretion if management believes that the employee's work may improve, avoiding dismissal of the employee. Informal discussion with the employee. Discussion should be constructive and specific. The employee should be able to ask questions and make comments. The manager should provide suggestions and direction. Oral warning. This is a full, specific, and constructive discussion of the problem, setting a date by which the employee is expected to meet standards. Written warning. This is a letter from management to the employees stating that the work is unsatisfactory and specifying a date by which the employee must improve or face dismissal. The letter should be accompanied by another conversation with the employee explaining clearly why the work is inadequate or not improved enough since the oral warning. Dismissal. When management decides that either that the progressive disciplinary steps will not have an effect on the individual's performance or that the needs of the cafe so require, the warning procedures will not be applied and the employee will be terminated without warning. Only the Daily Harvest management can terminate an employee. The cafe reserves the right to conduct searches of employees' work areas and lockers to monitor compliance with rules regarding safety of employees, security of company and individual property, drugs and alcohol, and possession of other prohibited items. Searches will only be conducted or based upon reasonable suspicion and with approval from management. The following policies regarding the safeguarding of the uniforms and equipment provided by the cafe. Employees are responsible for securing their equipment and lockers. The cafe is not responsible for lost or stolen property. Payday. Employees are paid semi-monthly every other Wednesday. If a payday falls on a paid company holiday, checks and or direct deposits will be distributed on the preceding workday. Tips are distributed within the cafe. Our cashier and servers receive their own tips through each electronic debit credit card transaction done during their shift. Our kitchen staff receives the shared 10% of total tips earned by the cashier and servers based on the hours worked during that shift. Health and dental insurance. The cafe does not provide to employees health or dental insurance currently. Discounts. Front staff food discount only during working hours. Front staff employees may apply a 20% off discount to 1 meal per shift per day. However, the discount doesn't apply to the food items from the menu list below. Kitchen staff Discount only during working hours. Kitchen staff may have one free meal per shift per day. However, the free meal does not apply to the food items from the menu list below. Grilled salmon, smoked salmon, cold pressed juices, matcha tea, a chai bowl, baked pastry. After working hours, employees can use the customer loyalty program. Employee may earn 1 point for every $1 spent and receive a $5 year discount for every um, 100 points redeemed. During days of not working a shift, current employees may apply the rewards program when purchasing any item on the menu. Please note both discounts cannot be used at the same time, and the rewards program can be applied to a meal while on shift. Voting time off. If you cannot vote before or after working hours in a statewide general or municipal public elections, then you will be allowed to team off. Voting time off. If you cannot vote before or after working hours in statewide general or municipal public elections, then you will be allowed time off to go to the polls. The cafe will pay for you to be absent for work up to 2 hours, which is necessary in a statewide public election. You must give reasonable notice of the need to have time off to vote. Bereavement leave. The cafe does not provide compensation for bereavement leave. Employees may be allowed to attend a funeral or memorial at their own expense. Jury duty. While we honor the spirit of community service, we do not provide salary compensation and will not reimburse employees for any cost accumulated while they are serving jury duty unless required by law to do so. Employees are allowed to serve jury duty at their own discretion. Jury, jury duty continued. Employee should notify management upon receipt of a summons to jury duty if their jury duty assignment will be on a date that the employee is scheduled to work a shift. Upon completion of jury duty, you're required to present a release from the court. Military or firefighter duty. Regular full-time employees who are reservists or members of the National Guard in a branch of the armed forces or volunteer firefighters may serve without pay and retain reemployment rights with the cafe in keeping with business needs and law at the time he/she wishes to be reinstated. A written statement from the employee's military or firefighter's supervisor which explains that the absence was necessary must be furnished upon return.
All right, wonderful. I'm so happy that you have joined our team and know our rules and policies now. So, if you have any questions, feel free to ask your manager.